I'm going live. Going live. I am live. I'm a live guy. With lots of stuff here. It's all sorts of stuff. Singing songs. Moving stuff. Where's my Tato? Meow. Did you tell me meow? Meow to you too, sir. Woo! I made it. Didn't know if I was going to. How are you guys? How's everything, guys? How are you? Good evening. Hello. Hey, I'm here. My screen is a little laggy. I hope everybody else is doing all right in terms of seeing this all. We'll see. I have a cat rubbing himself against my legs. I gave you dinner. You have dinner. It should be fine. You're a good cat. Eat your food. Meow, meow, meow. Okay. Anyway, guys, here I am. So I apologize that I did not show up as early as I wanted to, as I normally do, but here I am. So, yeah, we're going to get going with this. There's my sweetie pie. Meow, meow, meow. Wonderful. Oh, I miss White Castle. So I've got to pin this one. Oh, I miss I love White Castle. I could eat like 100 White Castles at a time. So here's what's going to go on. We're going to do this live stream, and then Kaylee and I are going to go on to Red Dead 2 and hunt and commit crimes together, like Bonnie and Clyde. So for the beginning of this, I'm going to do the military Q&A, and I'm going to set kind of ground rules for that as we go. Before that, like I always do, I'm going to show you kind of what's going on with the channel and what we have, talk about the video we had this morning and stuff like that. So I'm very excited because as I was outside hanging out, talking with Dave, who stopped by, I got my newest box of, hang on, I'm going to close the box up, make it look like I didn't open it. I got my newest shakes from Kenko, and I'm really happy. And I just remember you guys. So if you don't remember, hey Craig, how's it going? If you guys remember when I did the original unboxing and review of these shakes, I ended up with 3 flavors. I like them so much. Let's see how many flavors I added to this box. I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So I added 6 different flavors. So I will do an update video on these. I love these though. They are so good. They're healthy. They make me feel healthy. They're tasty. Well, I'm assuming the 3 I tried are tasty. Hopefully some of these ones are too. But now I've got, in addition to the reds and the crimsons and the yellows, now I got golds, I got rubies, I got peaches, I got mochas. What is this? I got purples, and I got aquamarines. Anybody? Hey, EDCs, how's it going? Anybody want to pick a flavor for me to throw in here right now? Anyone? Just first one to name one that I read in the things I'll try. They're all for, still haven't been able to sell that fire tack. Jeremy, if I had the money to buy that fire tack, I would take it from you in a heartbeat. I would, for real. Oh my God, that is a beautiful picture. I just saw a beautiful picture. What is it running you money per shake? Todd, that is a good question, and I have to do the math. I don't have a strawberry one. I just read out all the flavors I have. I don't have one that's specifically strawberry. Todd, you know what? When I do the follow-up, I'll do the math on what it comes out per shake. I'll let you know. That is an excellent question, and I do not know. I think it's like $1 to $2 per shake is what it comes out to. Let me, hang on. It's about $2.50 per shake. Yeah. So, no, it's not a naughty picture. It's a picture of a hand wearing a ring. I'll tell you what it is, and it is a beautiful picture. So since nobody picked one, I don't need the recovery because I didn't really work out today. We got skin health. I want to try one that I haven't done yet. Considering aquamarines for endurance, well, I'm not doing anything today. Anti-inflammatory. I could always use anti-inflammatory for my shoulder. So I'm going to go with purple. But Todd, if like I said, I have the give 10 get 10 code in the original video. If you're tempted to try it out, we can both make out a little. No, we cannot make out. Ugh. It's 1843, sweetie. In my time right now. It's 1743 in your time right now. Oh, it smells good. So anyway, when we ask what the drink of the day is, the drink of the night, it is going to be just this shake. I'm adding nothing to it. Oh man, good old boy. You just I'm sorry, you just said peach right after I did purples, but I will try peach next. Anyway, so I got these shakes. I'm super excited about it. And they actually, I really do like them. 2 of these a day is like all of your fruits and vegetable servings of the day. Oh, look, it is very purple. Okay. Hi, Peter. You just sitting next to me? Guys, Tato is sponsored. There's a pet company that emailed me and wants Tato to rep their gear. You'll see more about it when it actually comes out, but Tato's going to get a little bandana handkerchief to wear and some toys to play with. And Tato is sponsored. Tato has official sponsors now, which is pretty damn cool. Of course, I'm not popular on this channel. Tato is the man. So somebody on Facebook, by the way, not the DocP page, my personal page, recognized me and said, hey, I love you. He sent me a message, said, hey, I love your unboxings. And I'm like, how do you know my secret identity? That's exactly what I said. And he goes, oh, I recognize Tato in your profile picture. And I was like, not me, not this face. He recognized Tato. So anyway, all right, guys. So what is going on in the world? And we'll get, like I said, we'll get to the military Q&A in just a minute. Today, I filmed a video. If I just show you this, what does this look like to you? And if the answer is anything other than a Mora, you know, it acceptable as a cold steel Finhawk. I got the cold steel Finhawk because I saw it online looking at something else, and I said, damn it, it looks like they took a Mora and they stuck it in a cold steel thing. So, you know, I had to check it out. $15 on Amazon. Totally very Scandi looking. So we will see. No, Screwdriver Honey is a delicious drink. So we will see this video where I compare it against a couple of Mora. Not really compare it, but like, you know, compare the shape and the size and all that. But I'll do a little quick review of this knife coming up. Film that today. What else? Tato is going to get merch, and he's going to get representation and headshots and everything. I hope you guys all enjoyed the own knife unboxing because I enjoyed this. The steel. Oh, by the way, the steel on this is that German. I'm going to read is the 4116 stainless, so it's not Sandvik. I think it's kind of in the same neighborhood. You know what I mean? So it's a popular video anyway. It's already past 1,000 views, and the day it's not even 24 hours up. So that's pretty cool. So I enjoy this. I think it's nice. Remembering that it's a Kaiser. Just take that away. So if you haven't seen this, all right, honey, you go hunt. I'll be here, and then I'll be there. If you haven't seen this, the video's up. It's a very well engineered knife. I mean, it's a Kaiser. It's a Kaiser. Hello, how's it going? It's a Kaiser Vanguard class knife. Apparently Kurt wants it like this. I don't know. I like it like this. I like the sheep's foot, kind of. Although I see what he's talking about, because normally a sheep's foot has more of a flatter edge there, but I like the upswept sheep's foot. Consider Condor as a Mora Garberg head-to-head. That's an interesting idea. Yeah, I like the blade shape on this. Some people were questioning the secondary choil. I understand. I mean, I like it. I like that it's there. But anyway, the review's up there. You can check it out. I will be carrying this around and testing it out over the next few days, just to see what else is in my little box of happiness. So the topic of dyeing G10 has come up a few times. So I got a couple different RIP fabric dyes, because in my experience, the nicest colors to do G10 are going to be blue and green. So I've got a regular old royal blue, okay? And I got a synthetic. Now, you might not have known there's regular fabric dye and synthetic fabric dyes. This is like for cottons and stuff, and this is like for nylons. And technically, G10 it's a synthetic. It's a it's a fiberglass type product. So I have taken the scales off of my bad monkey, and we'll be using another Jade G10 knife, the one that EDC's Nuts sent me, the Ethan Grow one, and we'll be doing a video on how to dye G10. Now I will say, oh, you want reds? Oh, I'm sorry, I totally misread that. So now again, you can, in the video, we'll talk about all different colors you can do and different G10s. Jades come out beautifully with different dyes because of the translucentness of them. So we got this coming up, and I'll work on this probably tomorrow. It's got that. We finally have, it is the Jade Kubi Raven. Oh, look at it. Oh, it's so pretty. It's so pretty. So we'll see a whole review on this. Boom. And along with that, we have the, you don't dye a blade, you dye the scales. You dye the G10 scales. We have the Vagrant from Kubi to take a look at. And we also have the Drake. And if you didn't know also, we'll talk about this, with these camouflage G10 scales, they're basically printed on top of jade. So you could dye these too. Like if you wanted a redder camouflage or a bluer camouflage or a darker whatever. So anyway, we'll mess with this. So we got that coming up. I also have, and I don't have it here to show you because I spent way too much money today, guys. I spent way too much money, but we've got some sweet stuff that's going to be arriving between tomorrow, Friday, and Saturday. And we will be seeing it. We'll be messing with it. In addition to another giveaway that we're going to do, because our one giveaway ends, I think, this week for the one that Aaron provided for us. And then we'll be doing the giveaway for our remodeled Benchmade 940, wherever it happens to be. Is it a bolster on the front? What is it called on the back? A pommel or a rear? I think it's a rear bolster. A pommel, I mean, a pommel is a very separate thing. Yeah, we're going to stream our wedding. Why not? Have you ever did the cold bluing on a knife? No, I have not. I have not blued a knife at all. I have not done blued steel. Just because I don't think the process is necessary with modern steels to protect it from anything. So yeah. So anyway, that being said, that's kind of a little heads up of what we've got going on. And then, of course, I'm going to be posting again on the model channel starting Friday. I've got some work that's going to be completed that will be going up. Doomsday Duck, thank you very much for this, for giveaway shipping and stuff. If I were to add you in it, what would you like to be? And I would love to be included. That would be super cool with me. What would I want to be? I would want to be like some kind of old crusty dude that leads characters, that either supplies people with stuff, or leads, teaches and leads them through adventures or something like that. That's awesome. Thank you. And I can't wait to see what that is. Interesting. I like the purples. Okay. Okay. Oh, you did some forced patina. Forced patina is, you know what? Letting a natural patina happen is great, but if you can force it and make it look good, why not? I don't know if Josie there is talking to me. Maybe. I might have been. I can ask my mom. Okay, so let's get into this military Q&A. Was I dropped as a child? Maybe. You know, my dad, it's entirely possible that he not only dropped me, that he rigged me with a small parachute to prepare me for later in life. So, I don't know. All right. So, military Q&A. I am going to answer as many of your questions as I can with a couple caveats. Remember that my experience, my firsthand experience, is having served in the Army and the Air Force. So I can't really give you firsthand knowledge about the Navy or the Marines. I have worked very closely with Marines in some small settings. I have worked on some joint task forces. So, you know, I kind of have some knowledge of how they work, but I'm not gonna answer a question that I have to make up an answer to. I'm only going to give you real answers. And I am not going to answer anything that's like above my pay grade or out of my wheelhouse. So if I can't give you a legit answer, I'm just not going to do it. But I'm not just going to say I'm not going to answer it. I will owe you an answer. That's kind of the military standard. If you can't answer a question, you owe that person an answer. I will do some research. I will talk to some people, and I will try to get back to you with an answer. What are my thoughts on spring-assisted knives? Some of them I like, some of them I don't. I really like Kershaw and ZT with their speed safe system. I don't know. Some people think that they're like an excuse for bad engineering on some knives. I don't believe that is true. I think that there are some very nice knives that are spring assisted, and I think that there are some very nice knives that are not, and it just is all what you want. So this guy Josie is a moron because he has no idea what I'm registered as and has no idea how I vote or who I voted for. Second, but I'm going to let him keep talking. You know why? Because freedom of speech. Second, when it comes to classification stuff, obviously I'm not gonna give you an answer to anything that busts that. And there's, people think that classified just means like secret, top secret stuff like that. There's things even before that. There's something called FOUO, for official use only. Then we have confidential. Then we have secret. Then we have top secret. Then we have top secret SCI. And then we even has, I'm just going to get rid of him. Then we even has some other stuff, some extra add-ons called special access requirements and special access programs. So I'm not going to talk about anything classified here. But with those things understood, I'm willing to answer kind of whatever it is that you want me to answer, any questions I can. So, best long-range fighter in the world. So this is the first question. What is the best long-range fighter in the world right now? So I need you to back that up. Long-range fighter to do what? For air defense, air dominance, long-range strike fighter, because just like when we talk about knives, we need to whittle that down. There's the term fighter is very broad. So Todd, I am going to be air-to-air combat. I had the very best, the finest air-to-air fighter in the world right now is the F-22, hands down. And I can tell you that because I have seen it in action. It is a frighteningly good fighter in the hands of a pilot that's not too arrogant. Doomsday Duck, I appreciate this, and I am going to answer this in a minute. Okay. When a pilot forgets that low observed, but there's no such thing as a stealth airplane. Stealth implies that it is invisible. It is low observable. Okay. When a pilot forgets that his airplane is low observable and not invisible, it is possible to defeat that airplane. And there are ways to defeat that airplane, which again, so now we're going to talk about cloud. I'm not going to get into that. But in plenty of exercises, I have seen a good, confident pilot with good training and tactics in an F-16 or an F-15 or an F-18 shoot down an F-22. It doesn't happen often, but I've seen it happen. So, but the F-22 is hands down the best air-to-air fighter in the world right now. The F-15 is still very formidable. The Super Hornet is very good. In terms of a maneuverable platform, the Flanker is awesome. It's awesome. It's just limited by the electronics that the Russians can put into it. So next we have this. Have I ever been in an armored vehicle? Was it exciting? What type? I have served in the Army. So I have been in, as a scout, I served in an M3 Bradley. Was it exciting? It's very dark in there and it smells very bad and it smells a lot like diesel and you hit your head a lot. It's not the kind of place for somebody who's claustrophobic. It is kind of exciting when you see a line of all these vehicles and you're traveling. So I was what we call a dismount scout, which means I ride in the vehicle. There's 2 or 3 of us in the back, and then there's a crew of 3 in the rest of the vehicle. And then they get forward and then they kick us out, and then we go and we do sneaky stuff. I love the Bradley and I hate the Bradley. I have sat in an M1 Abrams tank. That was not my vehicle, though. We were around them all the time because, 1st Cavalry Division is basically a glorified tank division now. I have also been in an M113 A3 ambulance, which is just, an armored ambulance. And believe it or not, the scariest wound I have ever had to treat when I was a medic, I had 2 guys. We were in an exercise in Fort Bragg, and I had 2 guys going into full-blown heat stroke at once. And while that's not if somebody's shot or bleeding or whatever, there's things I can do to fix it. You know what I mean? I can get in there and I can put bandages on it. When a dude is having a seizure because he's in heat stroke, there's not a lot I can do out in the field. And so that's why that was one of the scariest things for me to deal with as a medic. And then to have 2 of them going on at once, because these 2 guys did not listen to all the lectures. They were not drinking water. They were not eating. They were just being assholes. So that was actually one of the scariest moments for me as a medic was thinking like 2 dudes were going to die in front of me from heat-related injury, and there's not a thing I could do about it. What was my MOS in the Army? I carried a few different ones, Justin. So I started off as what we call a 19 Delta, which is a cavalry scout. And then there's some things that you go behind it as identifiers. Then I became a 91 Bravo, which was the old MOS for combat medic. I think now it's a 68 Whiskey. Back then, a 68 Whiskey was, I believe, a wheeled vehicle mechanic. Then I became a 91 Whiskey, which, because they change the MOSs all the time. So I was a 91 Bravo. I went to school to become a 91 Charlie, which is an LPN on top of the 91 Bravo, so I could do more medical related things and work in a hospital also. Then I became a 91 Whiskey Mike 6, which is just another medical shred out. But then I left the Army for the Air Force, and then they became a 91 Whiskey. Did I do a lot of static line jumps when I was in? I'm what we call a 5 jump chump, which means I did the required 5 jumps to get my wings, to get the jump wings. That's it. I'm a 5 jump chump. I was never assigned to an airborne unit after that. Never. So it's not that I didn't want to. I wanted to, but I volunteered for the school. I went to the school. They said, thank you very much. But I never was assigned to a jumping unit. So no, I did not. I did 5. I did a grand total of 5 static line jumps while I was in the military. That's it. Let's see. For military uses, what's the best knife for that? What's a military use? I mean, we'll get back to this one. That's such an open-ended question. I can't even answer it. Okay. Hello. M4 Bradley. So there's 2 kinds of Bradleys. There's there's 3 now. There's an M2, which is the infantry vehicle, which sucks 10 times harder than being in an M3 because there's 6 of you in the back of it. There's the M3, which is the cavalry, and then there's the M6 linebacker, which is like a short-range air defense Bradley. So that's when I was in. The narrow point air. What? Hold on, I have to figure out what this means. Okay, I'm just going to leave that one there. All right, so we have either that or hard use. The best knife that I ever carried in the military was my Ontario 499. I carried it forever. It stuck with me a lot. I mean, yeah. Did you ever witness any unexplained aerial phenomenon? Not unexplained. There are some things I experienced that I'm sure other people thought were unexplained, but we knew the explanation for them. So, no. I just, no, honestly. Let's see. I'm pretty sure it's his channel name. Okay, yep. Deployed paranormal story. I don't have any deployed paranormal stories. I got none. Every deployed event that happened was the result of people. And I apologize. I don't have any good paranormal stories. So no aliens. None. Aw, I love you, baby. Thank you. How did you get into it? Oh, I think that's... Okay, honey, you play Red Dead, and I'll come meet you as soon as this is over. The unit I got into at Fort Carson was an armored unit. Striker. Yeah, I never had a striker. So, yeah, they switched. 91 Bravo was a wheeled mechanic and a 68 Whiskey. Yeah, I guess they flopped it around. I don't know why. Haven't heard 5 jump in a long time. That's because now the Army doesn't waste the money sending people to school if they're not going to actually do it. So, guys, I'm old. Okay, I enlisted when I was 19 in 1996. And they did that sometimes. She goes to boot camp on the 30th. All right, we're going to have to talk more about that. Did I receive any serious injuries when you were in? I have received so many injuries when you were in. Guys, so if you follow the channel for a while, you know I'm on my 3rd shoulder surgery, and I'm about to get my 4th because I have had my shoulder destroyed while I was deployed in Afghanistan. I have broken my legs straight through when I was in pararescue school. I have gotten a lot of injuries. And then of course, pointy metal things entering and exiting the body at various times, a couple times. It has not been good. Yeah. Oh, see, so you and me are not too far off in age. That's probably why. Maybe they don't even say that anymore. I don't see. The thing is, James Hardens James. I don't think that cat is staring right in my soul. I don't think they do that anymore. I don't think they have that anymore. I think if you go to airborne school now, you have to serve in an airborne unit. I don't think they allow you to go to the school and then not go on to a jumping unit anymore. I don't think that's even possible. So I don't know. But I have had some serious injuries. I have spent quite a bit of time in different military hospitals. So it's not fun at all. My favorite camo pattern. I still love BDUs. I just love, and I don't know, it's because I like the uniform. But I don't know. So I like BDUs. I just like wearing BDUs. I like the camouflage pattern. The thing is, camo patterns are never. Camo pattern is never what camouflages you. And you learn this as a scout. You learn a lot about it. It's a starting point, but you have to build up camouflage. Like it's, but multicam or whatever we're calling it these days, OCP is pretty good. It's pretty good. I hated the Army, the gravelflage, and I hated the Air Force ABUs to death because they are in no way, shape, or form good for anything. The uniform sucked, and the camouflage pattern on them sucked. Our biggest challenge in the South China Sea is just going to be the distance. Just like it was and this is my opinion only. It's going to be the distance of supplying that fight and getting to that fight. It's so far off our shores, and there's no safe supply bases. Like, we've got the Solomons, and we've got Diego Garcia, but when you're engaging in a fight like that, a ship launch or submarine launch or air launch cruise missile can take that out like that. And the thing is, China is not a chump enemy. Okay. I believe we would win a fight with China. I believe we get one hell of a bloody nose doing it. And I think that I don't have a few. I do not have a few. One Purple Heart for one action. You don't get it for each individual injury. So if you get multiple injuries at one time or in one combat action, you don't get multiple Purple Hearts. Just FYI. And by the way, they have to prove that injury is the result of enemy action. So, like, for instance, if it's not the result of enemy fire or enemy action, you don't get the Purple Heart. Like, so you can be in a vehicle that explodes, but if it's not the result of enemy action, it's not Purple Heart worthy. Just FYI. So I don't have a few of them. No. So the biggest challenge in the South China Sea will just be fighting that war that far off our shores. Like, we've been fighting this war in Iraq and Afghanistan, but we have these huge bases for logistics and for all of, setting that up. And logistics is what I say this all the time. Logistics wins wars. It's not, yes, it is about the individual war fighters on the ground and their equipment, but no matter how good your army is, no matter how well trained they are, no matter how good your equipment is, when you run out of gas, bullets, and beans, you're done. You're absolutely done. And it happened to the Germans in World War II. It has happened to the Japanese in World War II. It happened to countries in World War I. It's happened to Romans. It goes all the way back to then. So yeah, the logistics is big. Okay. Well, that's one hell of a cat. There's new comment. Oh my God, I'm like really falling behind on the comments. I'm sorry. Hi, Sunshine. The Chinese are definitely closing the military gap. They are. They're still only near peer. They're not a peer force. They're near peer, but they're close. They're doing good. So here's the thing that people don't understand about medics. So a medic's job, and I was not a medic when I came to the Air Force. My job in the Air Force was communication and close air support and air control. So I'm on the ground and I'm talking to the pilots and I'm like, an Army unit needs help. An Army unit is overrun. An Army unit is ambushed, or not even that. I mean, it could just be like, we get word that there's a target that needs to be hit. So I'm on the ground and I'm talking to that pilot. And I'm like, here's the airspace you can fly in. Here's your target. Here are the coordinates. Here's what's around you. Hey, by the way, we got friendly dudes over here. Here's friendlies. Don't blow us up. And I'm letting them know what weapons are authorized and what aren't. And I'm telling them sometimes it's like I'm telling them, like, you can go to this airspace right here, descend to this altitude on this heading, make your run in, drop your weapon right here, then immediately pull up to this altitude. So it's a whole lot of different. So my job in the Army was very different than my job in the Air Force. My job in the Air Force, I actually saw a lot more what you would consider combat time than I did in the Army. And so all of my injury stuff was in the Air Force, not in the Army. So Peter, thank you. Peter always contributes every time we do this. So that's really cool. I don't know if China would do that. Maybe they would, but China knows that the one reason that people don't nuke us, even with a terrorism kind of thing, is because they know that our policy is absolute decimation. We have a no first strike policy, but we have an absolute crush you off the face of the planet second strike policy. So yeah. I don't know. Let's see. Somebody asked a question about India. Where'd it go? I have actually done an exercise with the Indian Air Force once. They came to Mountain Home Air Force Base, and I spent 8.5 years there. Because if you have not seen Mountain Home Air Force Base, if you haven't seen that area, it looks exactly like you're staring outside the front gate of Kandahar Air Force Base. The Indians came with some Su-30 MKIs, which are extra. So the funny thing is, the Russians build these airplanes, right? And then they sell them to countries. Some of them just buy them off the line. China and India take what Russia sells them and then buy electronics from like Israel or build their own or work together, the Su-30 MKI is much more capable than any Su-30 that Russia actually flies. That plane is a monster. Now, it is still limited because it can only use the weapons that Russia has sold them to use. If it could use better weapons, I'd be scared shitless of the Su-30 MKI. But the Indian Air Force is an extremely capable, force. And that's why we try to stay such good friends with them, by the way. Yes, we like India because it is a democracy in that region. So we're allies, but they do have a very good, their Air Force is very technologically advanced. Their army is big and has a lot of stuff, but they could use a little help in their, they've been trying to develop this new tank for like a decade and it's not going so well. But Jesse, thank you. I appreciate that. That's the thing, Nick, from the sky. And we have, sometimes I talk about data links, link 16, things like that. We have a lot of good stuff, but in the end, a lot of times the what it comes down to is we do what we call target talk-ons, which is in those cases where we do what we call danger close, where like the good guys and bad guys, we'll specifically say to this pilot, we'll be like, do you see the two white pickup trucks 50 yards south of a palm tree and 20 yards north of a building with a red roof? Like, we will get that specific on the radio. And it's not until, and we might have this conversation for 10 minutes until I know and he knows and the commander on the ground, because it's the commander on the ground that actually we'd say he buys the bomb. So I'm the one who's passing over the radio and I say the word hostile, or I say the word like cleared to engage or something like that. But it's the commander on the ground who actually has that final authority to be like, okay, yeah, you can tell him to drop now. It's very rare that it's in my little stripe-wearing hands where I can like I always got to clear it through somebody, or we have like a flow chart called a matrix. Sometimes through the matrix, I can do that. But it's always someone else has already signed off to delegate authority. It's a big thing. And that's why friendly fire happens. And like in Afghanistan, we have killed some Canadians and we have killed some British guys. And it happens. Friendly fire happens. Collateral damage happens. You cannot. What does the term AGL stand for? Usually it stands for above ground level, because we measure altitude in two different ways. MSL, mean sea level, and above ground level. So typically if we are working below 16,000 feet, we are talking AGL. We'll reference everything in AGL. So when we're setting up airspace, it will be, and then we also use the term flight level once we get to above 16,000. So mean sea level is the literal altitude above sea level. But because someplace like Afghanistan, for example, is so mountainous, like Iraq is very flat for the most part. So it's not that complicated. But when you're doing close air support and assigning airspace and you're going those low altitudes, you want to let the pilot know very specifically, you're approved 3,500 AGL to 6,000 AGL to let him know exactly where he is. And that's really important where you have mountainous terrain, so the pilot knows exactly where they're allowed to fly. Now, if they're just going to tool around at like 20,000 feet, then we're talking MSL. We're talking sea level measurements, because 20,000 feet is above everything else. And we might also reference that as like flight level 200 for 20,000 feet. 23,000 feet would be flight level 230. So there are two different ways to reference that. What was my favorite military workout? Surfing in Florida with the 920th Rescue Group. That was actually my favorite one. Jews? Yes, they exist. What am I supposed to do with that? Have you spent time with other countries' troops? Who are your favorites? My absolute favorites were the Australians. So I've been deployed right alongside we did a lot of work with, and I don't know how this worked out, but it just did. I've been on joint task force with the British Royal Air Force, the Canadian Royal Air Force, or the Royal Canadian Air Force, and the Royal Australian Air Force. And we always worked as teams. The Australians are out of their goddamn minds 24/7 in the best possible way you could ever imagine. They asked me to play rugby with them once, and I was like, dude, we're standing on gravel. And they're like, yeah, we know it's a little pussy out here, but, you know, we don't have a hard concrete pad to play on. I love the Australians. The fun part is, too, we all speak English, but none of us speak the same language. So they were my favorites. But at Kandahar, that's like a big NATO base. So you had Portuguese troops there, German troops, Spanish troops. We even had, I think some Croatians there once. We never really traded MREs with anybody, though, because like when you're out in the field, you're typically sort of in your little groups. And so I didn't do a lot of MRE. I didn't get to do a lot of MRE trading with them. I've heard some are really good, but I love working with the Australians. It was working with the Australians where I really messed up my shoulder trying to pull a dude out of a Humvee that was on fire. Working with Australians is awesome. They just have a no fucks given attitude, but a very professional no fucks given attitude. I really like working with them. I loved working with Romanians, actually, too. Very, believe it or not, Romanians, very professional Air Force. They're locked in tight. Really, really good. No, I have not used a laser designator to mark a target because we don't really do that anymore that much. We have the capability to do that, but typically laser designation is done from the aircraft now with the designation pod. I have passed a whole lot of coordinates for GPS-guided weapons. So I have used a laser to get myself very precise. I've used what am I thinking of? A GPS with a laser on it to get myself very, very accurate coordinates. But I have not laser designated a target. And what we do now, you know, even more than that, is what we'll use is an infrared pointer to highlight something on like the PEQ3. And we'll highlight that target that they can see through night vision optics, or they can see through the targeting pod, and they will laser their own target, because then we don't have to hold still on the ground anymore. And in Afghanistan and Iraq especially, the environment's so dusty and everything that ground-based lasers have a lot of trouble seeing through all that stuff. So we've moved away from ground-based laser designation. Aircraft can laser for each other all the time, but we pass coordinates for like GBU-31s, GBU-32s, GBU-54s, things like that. What would the Air Force do if there is an EMP? A lot of Air Force stuff is shielded from EMPs. I can't go into it more than that. A lot of the Air Force would stop working. A lot of the Air Force has all those black boxes are very quickly removable, and there's bunkers where they can just put new stuff in, and a lot of aircraft they're shielding. That's all I can go into it. Like a B-52 could fly straight through an EMP and not even know it went through it. Where are we? Who do I think has the best military? We do. I've never worked with I've never ever worked with the Finnish military. Never seen them ever in my life. So there you go. Let's see. What else? F-18, let's see. That's a weird, well, they're Canadians. I don't know what the AGL 250, I don't know. We wouldn't say that. If Canadian, I don't know. See, now it used to be every country did their own thing. Now NATO, it started with us, but NATO has a very standardized thing called the Joint Terminal Attack Controller certification. And it's a certification. It's kind of a job, but anybody can go through this course at Nellis in Nevada. And it's to commonize and put everybody on the same sheet of music. And it's called joint because you can go through it in the Air Force, and the Army, Marines, Navy, and foreign, allies can go through it too. I don't know why they would say AGL 250. That doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. I don't know what they were talking about, but maybe if I heard the whole radio call, I could. I don't know. Let's see. Yeah, I said we are the best. The United States has the best military. And I've actually kind of answered this question last week as to why So, yeah. Something was 10 years ago. What was 10 years ago? I don't know what was 10 years ago. I agree. America and China and Russia are way... I don't know what you mean by that exactly. Or way...
Hello, sweetie.
Sorry, I'm getting the boys back early. What are my thoughts on the Space Force? This is a real question, guys. Here's the thing. We've had a Space Force for decades, and you just didn't know it. They just weren't called the Space Force. They were called the United States Air Force Space Command. And they've been there, and they've been doing it. And here's why they're important. Because if you think about it, so we say that, like, you know, you got to dominate the air in order to control the battlefield. So just think space is even higher than that. And space, if you're not, it sounds silly when we say Space Force, right? And we think about like Star Trek and Star Wars, but what's in space? Every single satellite. What do? All of the communications around the world, right? All of the GPS, all of the well, not all of the intelligence gathering, but a lot of the intelligence gathering. So it just sort of makes sense to take that element from the Air Force and put it into its own force. And if you think about it, it's exactly the way the Air Force was born. The Air Force was part of the Army from 1903 all the way until 1947, till they finally said, listen, we've had this Army Air Corps and then the Army Air Forces forever. Why don't we separate them and make them their own force so that they can focus on what they need to do and not be hung up on what this big Army thing does? So now what they've done is they've said, listen, we've just kept throwing money into this thing called Space Command for them to do all this stuff. Why don't we just separate them, make them their own thing, let the Air Force worry about air, and let Space Force worry about what's in space? So we have had a Space Force for well over 20 years. It's just now it's an official thing, and they have uniforms that say, if you notice, they're still wearing Air Force uniforms, you know? So anyway, I'm sorry. Let me go back. We had something about the Israeli air. Yes, the Israeli military is awesome. What the Israeli military is really good at doing is buying our weapons and then teaching us how to effectively use our weapons, and they've been doing that since the 60s. Israel is, and I don't care, I'm not talking about politics, I'm not asking you to say Israel is good or Israel is bad. I'm not asking you to comment on the whole thing. But the Israeli military has fought outnumbered and outgunned since the day they were invented, since the day they became a country, and they've been winning. I mean, they have no choice but to win. Israel is actually a very potent fighting force. What would be the reason for World War III? I think it would probably be mostly economic. That's just me. I think it would mostly be an economic struggle that would lead into a shooting war. But, you know, the thing is, so many wars in human history have been started by just pure bullshit. Who knows? But the leading cause of most wars is either religion or economics. So I'm going to go with one of those two. How do you think? I think Israel would level Iran, would lay waste to it, and then Iran would come back with terrorism strikes and cause a lot of bloodshed inside of Israel. The real unfortunate part for Israel is that they don't have the landmass and the population like Iran. Like they can't sustain that kind of stuff the way some other nations could. Militarily, Israel would destroy Iran. Israel could wipe Iran off the map if they really wanted to, but I think that international pressure would keep them from fight. I mean, they'd have to fight with one hand tied behind their back. Sunshine, what's wrong with you? What's going on? Are you okay? Well, I gotta disagree with you because I think when we think about a world war, it's a war. We're not in a, you know, we say war, this whole thing in the Middle East, all times I've been deployed, it's not war the way we've ever trained to fight a war. It's just not war. It's conflict. It's not war. Wars do generate a ton of money. The U.S. economy is never better than when we're fighting a war. I mean, Look at it. That's the way we got out of the Great Depression was to fight World War II. And if it wasn't for that, who knows where it might have come from. Yeah, I think this is related to the Israel-Iran, and I think that in the end they both do lose. I think that's right. Now, listen, I'm not telling you that you're wrong, because I can't tell you you're wrong, because that's an opinion question. I'm telling you from my opinion, I think World War III involves a lot more shooting and blowing stuff up all over the place, a lot more high intensity. So what we're fighting right now, what we've been fighting, is called low intensity warfare. High intensity warfare is when we have tank division versus tank division, Air Force versus Air Force, you know? And that's a whole different thing. And we haven't done that in a long time. You should build a Super Sherman on my channel. I might. The M51, the Israeli version or the British version. So yeah, I thought we were going to get more questions about specific stuff. I don't mind, but I thought you were going to ask me more technical type questions, which is fine with me. Because I do get emails all the time, and they're like, one of the questions was like, why is, you said the Amram was better than the R27. Why is that? And I was like, oh, how do I answer this unclassified? What is your opinion in Israel, Palestine? I don't, you know what? I don't have an opinion because I don't belong to either of those groups. I don't think I can have an opinion. I think here's what I do think though. If we want to blame anybody for this whole mess, we blame the British. Because it was the Brits who decided one day, hey, UN, here's what we're going to do. We, the British, are going to carve out this territory and say it's Israel. And how about, UN, you sign off on it and say it's good? And they were like, yeah, it's good. Why not? How about it? And so this says questions. No, this is Q&A. You're asking questions. That's fine. That's it. I mean, it's a very interesting question. I mean, this is fine. I like I said, I'll answer all the questions you guys have because you guys have a lot of military questions. I talk about a lot of military stuff. I cannot separate myself from my former military life like so many lazy, pathetic veterans do. And I apologize for that. But I figured rather than just constantly talking about it in videos, I'd give you guys a chance to ask all of the questions. Yeah, go for it. Sunshine, you get free reign to do whatever you want. Well, so Kurt, here's the thing. In the Army now, we load weapons with magazines. We no longer put musket balls down the barrel and then use a ramrod. Just to let you know what kind of technology we deal with now. This is delicious. This is really good. I can't place the taste, the purples. But if I had to describe this taste, somebody's like, what does it taste like? I'd say purple. There's a drink I had, an alcoholic drink, and it was purple. And I think it's a mind eraser. I don't know. Dude, don't get down on yourself. Questions are questions. You just ask them when they, when I was an instructor, my last 5 years in, I really believe there are no stupid questions. Now, that's not true. There are some stupid questions, but there have not been any asked tonight. There are some stupid questions in the world, and most of them are asked by brand new second lieutenants. So, I have not heard this story, or maybe I have, and I just don't recognize it, but I don't think so. How many? Good question. That really depends, honestly, because there are a wing of F-22s is different than a wing of F-16s. Typically, a fighter wing, and some fighter wings have 2 squadrons, and some fighter wings have 3 squadrons. It just all really depends. Typically, you have anywhere between 8 and 16 aircraft in a squadron, and then you're going to have between 2 and 3 squadrons in a fighter wing. So I know I hate when I can't give you guys an exact answer. So anyway, let me get the calculator out. So you're looking for anywhere between 2, right, and anywhere between 2 and 48 airplanes in a fighter wing. Now, what's really fun is once upon a time in Mountain Home, again, when I first got there, it was a really unique wing because there were 3 different aircraft. Usually there's one kind of airplane throughout the wing. We had F-15Cs, which are air-to-air only. They shoot stuff down. We had F-16 CJs, which specialize in hunting down enemy air defenses, but they can also just drop bombs. They can shoot down airplanes. And then we had F-15Es, which are basically long-range strike fighters, but they can also shoot down some planes in their spare time too. So each squadron had different numbers of planes. The F-15, the 390th, the Wild Boars, I believe they had 18 F-15Cs. There were 12 F-15Es in the 391st, and there were 9 F-16 CJs in the 389th. And it's just because that's the way it went. So in the aggressors, they have less because aggressors are loved, but they're also ugly redheaded stepchildren, and they get what's not being used by the combat air forces. So the aggressors probably have about 18 airplanes in the entire wing at any one time. Even though their planes probably get used more than any other aircraft because they're constantly rotating them in and out. Their maintenance cycles are insane. So they get a lot. Obviously, modern Blackhawks have very much upgraded engines. This is a little bit outside of my wheelhouse. I can give you some basics. They have very upgraded engines, and they have some much better defensive systems. But I mean, if you want to talk about like a UH-60, a UH-60H or L that we fly in the 90s versus now, I could just tell you, like, the Blackhawks they have now are much better. They're much stronger. They're much fast. They're a little bit faster. They have better range. But in terms of the beeps and the squeaks, that's kind of, I can ask somebody about it. I know a dude who just got done with helicopter training. He was an enlisted guy, and he got commissioned, and he actually just graduated helicopter school, believe it or not. And he flies out in the missile fields now. I can ask him. That is a good question. It really depends. So when you go to like a training school, like at Luke Air Force Base, where they train all the F-16 pilots, they have what they call the B course for somebody that's never flown a plane before, and then they have the X course for somebody transferring from one airframe to another. If you're going from like an F-15 to the F-16, it's an easier transition than going from, say, the A-10 to the F-16, because you're going from a high-performance fighter jet to another. If you're going from, everybody has trouble going from something like super high-tech down to a lower-grade fighter, because you're used to the airplane just giving you so much more performance. Guys transitioning from like the F-16 or the F-15 to the F-22, they say it's a very easy transition because the plane does so much of the work for you. What they have trouble with is processing so much of the information that the airplane can give you. But in terms of flying it, they say it's so much easier to fly. So it depends from one person to another, but they have specific courses designed, so like they have one course if they know you're coming from the F-15, one course if you're coming from this. So it's a few hundred hours of academics and stuff in flight, and they get you signed off from one to the other and let you go. Now, once you're signed off, though, you could have 1,000 hours in one plane, but when you sit in the cockpit of that other plane, you're a brand new pilot again, as far as that squadron's concerned. You could be a lieutenant colonel, but you're still a brand new guy in that new cockpit, and you have to go through all the wickets and all the hours, and you're a wingman, not a flight leader. Let's see. I've been watching videos about China trying to take over they don't want to take over Taiwan. They consider Taiwan as already part of China. China has never agreed that Taiwan is its own country. As far as they're concerned, Taiwan is a lost province of China, and they still own it. That's why every time we acknowledge Taiwan, instead of calling it the Republic of China, they're pissed off. They as far as China is concerned, they already have Taiwan. Let me see. Let me get back down here. Apache. What is this? Apache, is that not? No, Apache is not. The Apache entered service it started flying in about 84, but it really entered unit service in 87. Have you ever seen A-10s? I have. Well, I've seen. They don't set out to do air-to-air. They do air-to-air in an oh shit situation. And I have seen it happen once. And again, it was an oh shit situation, completely unplanned, and it just so happened that it was the right place at the right time. An A-10 pilot, believe me, does not want to end up in that situation at all. They have the oldest Sidewinder missiles. They do not have the joint helmet mounted cueing system like other fighter pilots have, where you can like turn your head and target your missile. Their electronic, their sight is not even set up for air to air. It's literally one step above the old bead in the rings gun sight from World War II. It is not. They do not want to do air to air if they don't have to. They don't. Let's see. Where are we at? What I'm saying, I think that China thinks that Hong Kong is same than Taiwan. Yeah, well, China owns Hong Kong. I mean, Hong Kong is part of China. And China, like I said, China still considers Taiwan to be part of China. So, yeah, the Cobra was in Vietnam, was designed and developed in Vietnam. And the funny part is the Marines are still flying the Zulu Cobra today, which is awesome. The first one, First Blood, is the best Rambo movie. I thought, no. The UK never owned anything. The UK ran Hong Kong through a treaty, but it was Chinese territory the whole time. No, not true. Yeah, the Cobra is the Apache's big brother. It's actually smaller. It's the Apache's older brother. It's like, like when an old man hunches over when he's old, that's the Cobra. But the fact that, what the Marines have done with the Zulu Cobra is amazing. It barely represents the original Cobra. It's so awesome that they can take this old design from, 1965, and it still kicks so much ass. The funny part is the Apache is one of the slower aircraft in the Army inventory too. The Chinooks would outpace the Apache all the time in Iraq, and they'd have to slow down, and Afghanistan, and slow down and wait for their escorts. Let's see, where are we at? Yeah, this is, there you go. They had a lease on Hong Kong. They didn't actually own, the Brits didn't own Hong Kong. They just, as the Brits had to give up after World War II, the Brits had to give up their empire, and they leased Hong Kong from China. There goes my purples. I have no idea. I've never seen that movie. The most realistic movie made from World War I going forward to present day. I got to think about this for a minute. It could be We Were Soldiers. That was very realistic. Black Hawk Down's very realistic, although they don't talk about the PJs and the combat controller at all. Air Force Cross and 2 Silver Stars, but nope, don't talk about them. I don't know, Todd. I got to get back to you on that one. I got to think about it. I can talk about the F-35. I don't know what you want to know. What question do you want to ask me about the F-35? I'll tell you, I think it's a piece of shit. I think it's overhyped. I think it's too much money spent. I think they tried to make one platform do too much, and I think they tried to integrate too much in it to make it too fancy. And, whenever you have an over-integrated platform, when one system breaks, it makes every system break, because nothing can work on its own as an independent piece of equipment. But No, absolutely not. That is the dumbest thing ever. We have used simunition. Better than what? At what? For what? We have used simunition before, which I think simunition is the best training. Because that hurts. And it lets you know it hurts. But you're actually using your real firearms to do it. Miles gear that we use is, not bad. It's not. It's bad. Miles gear is bad. It's old technology. But, that's what we've used forever and ever and ever. Airsoft is... I don't want to insult anybody. I'm going to keep my opinion to airsoft on my own. Yeah, well, if it's better than the F-16 at air-to-air combat, why are the aggressor F-16 shooting it down at Nellis? Fancy doesn't mean better. The thing is, the F-35 is great when every single system on board the plane works all at once. You're comparing two movies that you can't compare. You cannot compare the two. They're two separate things. It's like saying what's better, pomegranates or mangoes. I would pick pomegranates because I like pomegranates. But no, these two are like two totally separate. They need to be separate movies. I would like to see all of Apocalypse Now until he finally finds Kurtz, and then get rid of that whole part. And I would like to see the entire Vietnam section of Full Metal Jacket and forget about the basic training, put those together as one movie. And that would be great. My experiences with the F-35, and you know what? It's been a while. Maybe they fixed it. Maybe it's gotten better. But my experiences working with it during testing for a while at Nellis, at Eglin, at Tyndall, and talking to the actual pilots at the 58th, where they were testing it out at Tyndall, they were really impressed with what it was supposed to be able to do. They were not very impressed with what it was actually doing for them. And I think that's all I'm going to say about it. You know what? I will say this. There was one mission where we were doing radar control, intercept control. And that's where we actually, we look at a radar screen and, we call out. We're vectoring pilots towards different things. And we've got the F-22s at Tyndall on one end of the water. And we've got the F-35s coming down from Eglin. And, we hear them check in on the radio, right? And we hear them. We don't see them. And we're like, oh, my God. We don't see the F-35s. And even though they're all stealth aircraft, we don't see them. I'm going to leave it at that. We don't see them. There's no such thing as stealth. If you know what you're doing and you know what you're looking for, we don't see them. So the F-35, we hear them broadcasting on the radio though, and they're doing stuff and they're doing combat. So we're telling them, we're talking to our F-22s, and the F-22s are seeing stuff on their radar screens that we're not seeing. And remember, stealth works differently. Low observable technology works differently in different frequency bands. And fighter radars use different frequency bands, and ground radars and all this other stuff. So we're going through this whole engagement. We go through two setups of engagements, and we're sitting there on the ops floor looking at each other like, wow, the F-35 works. We can't see it. What the hell? Wow, this thing's working out. And then our senior director calls from up at the gallery, and he's like, hey, just want to let you guys know the range control guy from Eglin called. Radar J blah, blah, blah is down for maintenance. And we're like, and that's the radar we would have used to see the F-35 on their end of the water. And we're just like, oh, we all, He goes, yeah, it's going to be up in 1 minute. We're like, okay. And like clockwork, radar comes up, energizes, does a couple sweeps, boop, boop. And we're like, oh, there they are. We get on the radio, Vapor 1, Doghouse, new group, Bullseye, blah, blah, blah. And that was the end of that. So I got all excited for a minute. I got really excited for a minute that this flaming dumpster fire of an airplane that was like, that we were messing with and that we were, I mean, I have great pictures of me posing in front of it out on the flight line at Eglin with a bunch of people. The problem with when we talk about hypersonic is that you can't stealth hide a sonic boom. You can't. There's hypersonics move really fast, so you can't shoot them down with technology we have today. The thing is, though, anything that moves that fast, there's a signature of some kind that you can look for with some system. Then again, I can't, I don't want to talk classified stuff. Hypersonics are valid weapon systems because there's no countermeasure to it. We have systems that can shoot down cruise missiles. We have systems that can shoot down incoming mortars and stuff. We have a lot of defense mechanisms. Hypersonics are so fast, those systems cannot get a firing solution on them before they're gone. But the downside is that intense speed creates a lot of friction from the atmosphere. It makes a sonic boom everywhere it goes, and some other stuff that I don't want to get into right now. China has developed some really good, we call passive detection systems. And this is unclassified, okay? But it gets into the really bozo sphere of classification levels. But, there are electronic signals bouncing around because of their various levels of accuracy right now. Hypersonics are in their infancy. Think about how hard it is to make anything going Mach 8 turn and hit anything, accurately. You would not use them on a pinpoint target. They'd be used on an area target, on a strategic target, like a city. Right now. In the future, maybe they'd have jettisonable, reentry. I don't know. The accuracy question also goes into stuff I don't want to talk about online. But in the world right now, we have so many electronic signals from radio and TV and cell phones and all this bouncing around everywhere. There are ways that even though something is stealthy, to track where something is in the sky because of interruptions in these waves that are all over the place. They're all over the place all the time. So if you build a receiver that just listens for just ambient radio waves, and it is programmed to then alert you when something gets in the way of these ambient radio waves that are all over the sky, you've in effect found a stealth finder. And there's not a lot of good ways to get around that. So, and I'm just saying, this is something that some college kid came up with that is open source that China picked up on and said, oh yeah, we can use that. And they have systems that rely on that. Anyway, guys, it's 7:52. I love talking about this. If you guys want to do more of this military talk, we'll do more of it, but it's been a little over an hour and I have to go hunting with Kaylee. And she's going to beat me up and abuse me and stuff like that on Red Dead. But I love having these discussions. I love doing live streams. We could talk all about more stuff. And maybe, if somebody wants to jump on and talk about, some of the stuff that I'm not really good at, that'd be awesome. We could have, if somebody is really good at naval stuff, or has more current Army experience than me, that'd be awesome. I'll bring you in and we can have you come and talk too. So anyway, guys, thanks for joining me. I really appreciate it. As always, you guys are all absolutely awesome. I appreciate every single one of you out there. It's been fun. And if you have any more questions or anything, just shoot me an email, video description. It's in there. And I'll see you guys again real soon.